Okay, we're live.
Yay!
Hello, everyone.
So exciting.
I think we're live. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Yeah, we're
we're live. Anyway,
Excellent. Hello.
It's pretty
it
low.
says we have 12 people, so I'm assuming that we're live.
Yeah.
So for those of you joining us, thanks. For those of you who are on the way to joining us, thanks. This is the AMA with the AlmaLinux Foundation Board. I'm Jack, our community manager. And here we have Eugene. Say hi, Eugene. We have
Hi.
Igor, who is our chair emeritus at this point. Igor
I'm
stepped
no
down.
longer on the board, so
Yeah,
I'm
so-
here for the historical reasons.
Yes, so we invited Igor in case anyone had any questions for him. We have Simon Phipps here as well. Hey, Simon. We have Benny Vasquez. Hey, Benny,
Hi.
who's the new chair. And Jesse should be joining us shortly.
Yes. Cool.
All right, so I guess let's open it up to questions. In case anyone has any questions, let's take it away. Otherwise, I guess we're just going to hang out. We have some beers in the fridge. We may do that if we get there.
Should we talk about what we did this week or what we launched this week?
Yeah, so I just want to give like a second for people to come in. Okay, so so let's start with that. So as everyone might know or might not know, we announced last week that number one, that Igor was stepping down as chair of the board. So Igor, do you want to talk a little bit about that and explain why that was and what your rationale behind it was? And of course, at the same time, we announced that Benny will now be the new chair of the board. So I guess, Igor, do you want to give like a brief thing about that? And I guess, Benny, you can follow up afterwards.
Oh, of course. I mean, it was just so much work. No, not really. I mean,
It was a lot of work, though.
it was a lot of work, but it's not the reason. The real reason was that we did want to separate. We want to make sure that this is a community project. And I felt like me being a decision maker in AlmaLinux and being a decision maker in Cloud Linux is not a good thing. It's not a good combination. Well, I'm still fully behind AlmaLinux project and will do what's needed to be done for AlmaLinux project. I really wanted to remove any decision-making power from myself so that it would be a community project, so that community doesn't feel like there is someone to override or someone with corporate interests that still controls it. And that's basically the idea.
All right, Benny, do you want to say a little bit about that?
Sure. I could talk about why I said yes, I guess.
Yeah, why you said yes, and I guess a little bit of what you what your plans and what your vision is for the future.
Yeah, sure. So like Igor said, I felt like what it looked like on the outside was really important, and what I wanted that to reflect what we're doing inside. So outside, it wasn't as obvious, just based on like who was on the board, the intentions that we had behind it, like Igor was saying. And once we made the shift from like away from Igor being the chair, it became super obvious to everybody that was watching, that was looking, that like we really meant it when we said we wanted this to be a community project. We really meant it when we said we wanted it to have community leadership. And I'm excited for to get the ball rolling on membership and that kind of stuff. We should, like I just posted a blog post earlier this week about the fact that we have a membership board, and we're going to get together, I think, Tuesday next week for our first round of review of the applications. We've got 70, I don't remember, almost 80 applications already, just from the little bit of work that we've done reaching out to people. And it's going to be really awesome to get those folks engaged and then go through like an actual election cycle where we get, it's not just us that care about AlmaLinux that are involved, but we get to get other people involved and bring more people in. Hi, Jesse.
Hello.
Hey, Jesse.
Hi.
Hey, so Jesse's just joining us. Jesse, I guess if you want to introduce yourself for those that don't know you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Jesse Askland, part of the board here at AlmaLinux, but also my day job is working at WebPros, historically over cPanel in the past, VP of Customer Experience.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping on, Jesse.
Sure.
Yeah, so one of the things that I wanted to also make sure we got to was we've seen a lot of people ask us about the 501c6 nonprofit that was set up. So I guess Simon is probably the best person to speak to that a little bit. I know that certainly a lot of people have asked about that. So Simon, you want to just say hi and introduce yourself, tell everyone what your background is and why you're actually qualified to talk about that, and then give us a little bit about it.
Okay. So hi, I'm Simon Phipps. I have been working in open source for a couple of decades now. I was previously, and there are Linux people here, so you might not like this, but I used to work at Sun Microsystems. I joined Sun in 2000 to try and get Java open source, and that took 5 years. And I ran the open source program office at Sun back in those days. We started a number of communities, notably just before I took over, the organization tried to start the Open Solaris community, and I learned a lot of lessons from that. I've strived really hard to stop Igor making the same terrible mistakes that the Open Solaris community did, and I'm pleased to say, generally speaking, he has. So I have then went on to serve as the president of the Open Source Initiative for 10 years. And I've also started a community interest company, which is another kind of nonprofit in the UK. And I've been on the boards of 6 or 7 international charities. So I've done lots of work with foundation and charity structures. And Igor asked me to join in to help him create a genuinely independent public community for AlmaLinux to live inside. And I was very excited by that, because it was clear to me that with the transition that CentOS was going through, there was still a need for a RHEL downstream that was managed by the community, and this time it had better be put into the hands of the community rather than just left floating around, or perish the thought, given to a company to manage. And so I helped organize I found a lawyer for Igor. I helped Igor discover just how much work it was to run an American public charity.
Yes.
And then we talked about what structure was going to be appropriate for AlmaLinux. Now, the goal with AlmaLinux from the very beginning has been to create a public community that is the steward of a RHEL downstream called AlmaLinux operating system. And the goal has been to make sure that that can't be captured by any particular company, to make sure that it serves the interests of the individuals who are using the software. And so we're steering the organization in that direction. Starting from scratch, it's quite hard to do all of those things, because obviously somebody has to be sufficiently interested to put the work in and pay the bills for it all to happen. And so right at the outset, we decided that we would become a US 501c6 organization. Now, a little bit of philosophy for you. When you tell the government that you don't want to pay tax, they check really carefully that you are entitled to say that. And the more tax that you decide not to pay, the more carefully they check. If you decide to become a US federal public charity, that is under section 501, subsection C, subsection 6 of the IRS tax code, then the government is going to want you to, right up front, check a whole load of boxes. They're going to want to check that you have substantial public financial support, they're going to want to check that you are not serving the interests of anybody who is financially supporting the organization. They're going to want to check that you have open governance. And one of the reasons that foundations want to be 501c3s is because the public has got used to the idea of a 501c3 being likely the flag, the imprimatur of an organization you can trust, because it is indeed serving the public interest. Now, we would very much like AlmaLinux to mature into a 501c3, but on day one, because Cloud Linux were very generously funding the establishment of the organization, and because we had to start somewhere, we decided we would pick a different kind of organization, a 501c6. A 501c6 is what I would term a trade association. Organizations that you might have heard of that are also 501c6s are things like the Linux Foundation. That's also a C6. C6s serve the formal members who create the organization, and they serve the interests of those people. They do it in a way that allows anybody to join in if they fall into the category whose interests are being served. So you can't have a 501c6 which is a private organization, but 501c6s only have to serve the interests of their members. Because they're serving the interests of their members, they aren't so exempt from tax. They still have to pay tax on any profits. And so because of that less scrutiny, the government is, because of that less tax avoidance, the government is applying less scrutiny. So it's easier to become a C6. So we've started out AlmaLinux as a 501c6, and we have structured the rules for being a member of the AlmaLinux Foundation ready for when AlmaLinux is mature enough to turn into a C3. So we've created membership categories that reflect all of the different ways that you can contribute to the AlmaLinux Foundation. And amongst those, there is a commercial category of contributor. And we have structured that very much like a trade association with different precious metal levels and with different benefits associated with being a member at different levels. But nonetheless, we still intend to be a C3 one day when we grow up. When that will be, we don't know. We're going to behave just as if we're a public charity until then. So this is what Benny was saying earlier. Just as soon as enough people have signed up as members of the AlmaLinux OS Foundation, we will hold board elections, and we will induct a board that runs the organization on behalf of the community. And when that community is diverse and large enough to be considered a public charities community rather than a trade association's community, then I hope the board of the day, because I probably won't still be on it, will decide that it is going to convert itself to a C3. Now, there's lots of other questions that you might have about that, and they are kind of esoteric in a lot of ways, but you feel entirely free to ask them over in the comments section next to the video there, and I will answer you either in the chat or it's possible that Jesse might give me back the camera to answer them as spoken questions. I've also written an article about this, and the board, when the board is ready, we'll be publishing that on the blog that says all the things I just said, but in writing. Does that help, Jesse? Is that what the kind of thing you were hoping for?
I think you mean Jack.
You mean Jack, not Jesse, but yeah.
I was looking in the right direction, if that's any consolation.
Yeah, I think your course on nonprofit organizations in the U.S. is very, very thorough.
Not bad for a Brit, hey?
No, not bad at all. So I see that. Well, before I bring in questions, I know that you mentioned elections. So Benny or Simon, do either of you want to talk about what our time frame is? And then I know, Simon, that one thing that people are going to ask is how are we planning on balancing, let's say corporate sponsors coming in, which there certainly are. How do we balance that with the interests of community? So why can't a company basically come in and buy influence enough to steer the organization in whatever direction they want to take things? What prevents that from happening?
Okay, so what we have done is we have broken up the election of the board into different membership categories. So the sponsors who are paying for a donation to justify their membership, they are only able to elect a subset of the board. They can't elect the whole board. So even if we were lucky enough to have hundreds of companies show up tomorrow, each paying our top level membership fee, they're only going to end up with, and I don't have it in front of me. It's like 4 board members they get in total, I think, if they do that.
Yes.
And then
that board will be a lot bigger than the people on screen now. For people that are going to say, "Hey, 4 is 3/4 of the people you have up on there now." So yes, the board will be expanded, and there will be a limit to how many corporate sponsors will sit on the board.
Right. And then we have a membership category for people who are running AlmaLinux mirrors, and we have a membership category for people who are individual contributors to AlmaLinux. And each of those categories will be electing a number of directors who will represent their interests. And so together, that group of people will be guaranteed to have diversity. This is the way that we decided to split up the board at OSI, because I helped design the membership governance to OSI as well. And one of the lessons we learned there is that democratic membership is great for ensuring the representation of the people, but it isn't necessarily great for continuity of necessary skills on a board. So the board is also able to additionally appoint up to 2 other directors who have got necessary skills for the current maturity and status of the board, and that will provide for a little bit of continuity. But I don't think we'll be doing that straight up. I think we'll be waiting a little while before we start doing that.
And we should say that those are usually mostly subject matter experts, depending on whatever happens to be going on with the organization at the time. So, for example, setting up governance, which is something that you, Simon, specialize in, is part of the reason why you're on the board now, and similar experts, will hopefully join in the future. So, thanks for that. So, I guess unless anyone wants to say anything else, I think that we have a few questions from the community that we can bring in.
Actually, Jack, I do want to add one more thing.
Sure.
One of the things that you had mentioned was timeline in terms of the elections. Mm-hmm. So I like Simon was doing, I hate to be specific around a timeline, because it is going to depend on what membership looks like, and making sure that when the election is held, it's actually worthwhile.
Yes,
but
correct.
My goal is around the beginning of the year, around December, January, February at the very latest, if we can, as long as things are in line.
Awesome. So that is great. And I personally look forward to the elections. And I think that we will have a lot of great candidates. Certainly, there are a lot of people in the community now that are contributing a tremendous amount to all the efforts. We've accomplished so much in the last few months, and I think without the contributions of people from the community, we would be in a very different place than where we are right now. So shout out to all the contributors. Thank you so much. And I guess let's open it up for questions. So the first question is from Jonathan. Hey, Jonathan. Jonathan and I have conversed a little bit over a few different channels. Are you planning, or at least foreseeing, a certification curriculum? So I can give my take on it. I don't know if anyone else wants to answer about that, but I think at a certain point we may have some sort of certification, and that is because number one, I think that lots of hardware vendors may want some type of certification. At least some of them have been asking if we're planning on having something like that. So in terms of that, yes. And I think part of that goes hand in hand with like a training curriculum, at least. So I think that will be part of it. Now, granted that a lot of the information is going to be available from the Red Hat documentation, from the CentOS documentation, and that, that lives on forever. But we may decide that we want to pull some portion of that and create some sort of educational training materials. And Jonathan, we know that your organization specifically does stuff like that, and we've spoken about it. So yeah, I mean, we're glad to work with you, and we would love to make that happen. I think the more that we can help educate not only our audience but just other people in the tech space in general about Linux, not necessarily just us, but about Linux, and then of course about us. We would love to do that, and I think that's part of our responsibility as part of the open source community, is to go out there and explain to people why we believe what we believe. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think I'd also want to add, or at least I guess ask the question there: what's the goal? Is it are we looking for more like users that want to prove their understanding, or are we looking for more of a actual like coursework where you go through a course to learn a bunch of stuff and then prove your understanding by earning a certification? I'd want to know which one we're looking for there, and what the community wants before we put in any significant effort, right?
Yep, correct. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's take another question. This is actually a technical question. So Green says, I have a question. Will AlmaLinux be taking steps to support things the community wants, but Red Hat doesn't want to ship? For example, ZFS. So this is a very good question, and it's a question that we've certainly spoken about not a few times. So the core of the answer is that we, as the base OS, we always will be, and we always aim to be, like a one-to-one rebuild of RHEL. So at the core, anything that is not in RHEL will not be in AlmaLinux. That's just because there are a lot of people whose specific use case is obviously the old CentOS use case, and we want to make sure that we are serving that portion of the community. Now, that being said, we have done other things, such as the thing that pops up like really glaringly is the Raspberry Pi support, which is something that CentOS does not do. Also, things like our live images, which CentOS does not do, and I think we found ways to provide those thus far. I think ZFS, it's a lot more technical. There are other repositories through which you can install it now. And Eugene, I don't know if you want to talk at all about your philosophy, being like the technical lead on how you feel about those things.
Well, as you said already, we are not going, to modify the main system, the core system, because it will bring compatibility with upstream. But if we want to add additional features like ZFS or something else, it's pretty easy to do from the technical point. I mean, we can always create another repository, another Git project, start building it for our operational system. It's not too hard to produce, different virtual machine images, cloud images. The question is about resources. I mean, if we have enough community people who wants to participate in that, to help us with supporting, with development, it's great. Then we can do it together. But if we are talking, I mean, if our core team is going to do something like that, we aren't, because our resources are pretty limited, and we cannot, do everything that people want. So the main point, if you want something additional to come in AlmaLinux, yes, if you want to use something that is not part of RHEL or CentOS, join the community, start working on this with us, with other members, yes, and we will do it together. Like that.
Thanks. Awesome. So while we're waiting for some other questions, I think one thing that we should probably talk about, which people may be interested in, is what we announced a couple of days ago. And that would be the Elevate initiative, the Elevate project. So let me take just a minute to talk about that. So what we released, the question just came in, but we'll take that in a second. So Elevate. So Elevate basically enables major version migrations between RHEL derivative distributions. And so what that means is that if you're running CentOS 7X now, and at some point in the future, let's say today, tomorrow, or like 3 years down the road when that's about to be end of life, and you want to be able to move to an 8.x or perhaps at that point a 9.x, this tool will allow you to do that. And how the tool works. So there are really two components. The first component is the Leap tool, which was developed by Red Hat for RHEL, but did not support other distributions aside from RHEL. So what we've been doing is we prepared basically patches to Leap, and we're working with upstream to get those upstream. Again, that's a philosophy that we highly subscribe to, is that we want to make sure that everything goes upstream so that you can, make sure that it'll benefit everyone in the community, not just ourselves. And then there's a metadata set. Now, the metadata set is basically what describes the evolution of a package between releases. So a package, let's say, could have been like upgraded. It could have been added if it wasn't there before. It could have been removed. It could have been split up into multiple packages. So this metadata set is really like the core of how the tool functions. And previously, there was not an open and freely available metadata set for the Leap tool. So if you had a Red Hat subscription, you were able to get a set of metadata, which Red Hat provides you with, in order to enable that. So what we did was we kind of came in and first of all, we were able to put together a base metadata set, and actually Oracle contributed to that. So we want to thank them for their contributions, and everything there is Apache licensed. So you have no questions on legality and on license. And we added to that as well. And then we put together something called the Package Evolution Service. And the Package Evolution Service lets anyone do a couple of things. The first thing it does is it lets someone come in and actually download the metadata set that they need to run their specific migration. So right now, Elevate supports going from CentOS 7 to a few different distributions, not just Alma. We support AlmaLinux, we support Oracle Linux, we support Rocky Linux, and we hope to add others as well down the line. And that's because we really want this to be a community-wide initiative, and we don't want this to be something that's just specific for us. This is a tool that everyone can use, and we want to make sure that it's available to everyone. We don't want to be selfish with it, and we certainly don't want there to be like 7 forks for each different distribution. So you can go in, you can download the metadata set of your, you can tell it I'm going from CentOS to, let's say, Oracle, and then it'll give you the metadata that you need for that. And then what it also lets you do is it lets anyone come in and actually add data to that library, so that if you have, by the way, I should mention CentOS Stream also. We also support going from CentOS 7 to CentOS Stream, and that's important because there are a lot of people running CentOS Stream. A lot of people thought that Stream would not go anywhere, but the numbers are actually telling us otherwise. So we want to make sure that that's there. So let's say you say, I'm going from CentOS 7 to CentOS Stream 8, and then it will give you that metadata. And then the other thing is anyone can come in and can add metadata information to that library. So if, let's say, you're a maintainer and you maintain your own packages, you're an application vendor and you have packages that run on enterprise Linux distributions, and you want to make sure that users in the community, in the world, can upgrade their package from one version to the next, when switching between the distributions, you can come in and you can submit that metadata there, and then that's available now to everyone. So whoever's running that application in the future, they can come in and they can make that transition from one release to the next. So it's really a very awesome project. We did a lot of work on it, and there was a lot of work behind the scenes too. And we want to, we put it out there for the whole community. We hope that the whole community will join and that the whole community will contribute to. And we really hope, that a lot of people always ask like, hey, are you and Rocky planning on working on anything together? This is one example of something that we can work on together. You know, Oracle has also said that this is a very interesting thing for them. I've spoken to several people from Red Hat who also think that it's an interesting development and are eager to help as well. And so I see this kind of like as a project that the whole community can kind of converge upon. And I see that we have some questions about Elevate in the chat, so I'm going to drag them in here. So John Wyatt, will Elevate work or plan to work with CentOS Stream? Yes, we definitely, it definitely works with CentOS Stream. We wanted to work with CentOS Stream. We think that that's continuing to be an important part of the ecosystem and not something that we're going to try to ignore. It's here, it's part of the family, and we want to make sure that that works. Let's just see what else we have here. So someone else asked about membership, and I see Simon already answered them. Simon, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Just because I'm having trouble finding the question on here.
So there was a question a little bit earlier on from Rory, who was asking whether how many members there were, and Luna commented that there were 70 to 80 people who have applied. Benny will know the real number.
I just looked it up. It's 78.
78. And so what's been going on is that the board has agreed that Benny will serve as the chair of the membership committee, and we've agreed some people who will be on the membership committee, and the board has also agreed the membership committee's terms of reference and rules of procedure. And so Benny is now looking at that list of 78 applications with a little fear and trepidation. And I think we'll soon be convening a membership committee meeting. So we should see some newly minted individual members very soon. The board are the ones who approve sponsor members. And we've already approved a couple of those. And we've also approved a couple of mirror members. So there is a membership forming quite rapidly. And ever being a pessimist, I'd assume we would have elections like in 2023. And Benny is all keen to have elections, you know, in October. And so somewhere between those two numbers will be the point at which the membership growth will lead to an election.
Yeah, I'm going to end up leaning on you, Simon, and saying, what do you mean 70 people isn't enough? Let's do it. And then you're going to tell me it's not. And then...
And by the way, Benny, have we posted up the names of the membership committee on the wiki yet? I know that you...
You know what? I don't think I submitted that pull request yet, but...
Okay. But we should tell everyone, so just so that they know.
It's not secret. I just haven't put it out there yet.
No, absolutely. I don't think it was ever announced anywhere. So the other members are Daniel Pearson, who is a community member, as well as please don't kill me if I butcher your name, Matisse Tranis, who is our community member, who is actually the web team lead. And everyone give him a round of applause for the awesome work that he's done on our site and continues to do. You know, it's really pretty much a one-man show. But there are active contributions from other places, and you know, with things like all the translations, and certainly he set up the framework for that. So I think that's definitely praiseworthy. Thank you so much. So Benny and Daniel and Matisse will be the membership committee, and they'll be, you know, reviewing everything. We want to see the different levels of, I guess, participation that are taking place in the community for everyone that applied for membership. And again, you don't need to have done like a crazy amount of work in order to apply for a membership. If you interact with us on Twitter, if you interact with us on Reddit, if you ever sent in any pull requests, if you're in our Mattermost, whatever it is, I think that, you know, that qualifies you to be able to apply for membership. You're part of the community. You're part of what makes this awesome. So I think that, you know, don't be shy, everyone that's watching this. You know, just go on. It's almalinux.org/foundation/membership. And you can put in your application there. And like Benny said, every 2 weeks, we'll be bringing on new members. Someone asked, will we issue membership certificates? If you really want a membership certificate, we'll put together a membership certificate for you.
I've been starting to put together like what the notifications will look like. So we'll start putting I mean, we can include a certification certificate or a membership certificate if people want it.
Yeah, that's that. Hey, listen, I want one too. I think that would be pretty cool to hang up on the wall right next to the college degrees, which are being put to various levels of use. Right.
Yep.
So I think that that would be cool to have. We actually have a very interesting question, which I also don't know the answer to, and this is for you, Benny. It says, off-topic question for Benny. I've noticed that you don't capitalize your first name. Is there a story behind that choice?
So, what? 18 years ago, I joined a technology I guess 22 years ago. I was going the wrong way. I joined a technology company, and they asked me what name I wanted to use, and I said Benny, and they started like putting it places, and I hated the way the B looked. So I started looking at all of the different fonts, and like honestly the only reason is I hate capital B's in basically every font. They're just all ugly and they make me angry, and so now it's lowercase b everywhere.
Nice. Well, Benny with the lowercase b, we're certainly glad that you're here. Just so everyone knows, Benny really contributes a lot. She's definitely a force for good, pushing everyone. A lot of what Benny wants to do is specifically around diversity and inclusion. And I know that that's very important for everyone. So thank you, Benny, for making sure that, that's part of the agenda as well. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Do we have any questions? Did the stream drop out? As far as I know, the stream did not drop out. We're on here and it says live, so I'm hoping the stream didn't drop out. I don't see any other questions. Does anyone in the audience want to know anything else, or should we just start talking about random topics?
I mean, I guess it's random topic time, huh?
Yeah. All right. I guess
we need a question for Igor. Igor and Jesse, they're the ones that haven't talked yet. I guess Igor talked a bit, so it's Jesse's turn. What should we ask Jesse?
Actually, we just got a great question, and I wanna pull it in. So John Wyatt, thanks John for all the questions. I have experience working with the Linux kernel. What tasks can I do / any mentorship I can join? Actually, I'm gonna leave that up there. Oops. Let's bring that back. This is an awesome question because I love it when community members want to bring in other community members and want to engage them and want to mentor them. I think either Igor or Eugene, do you want to talk a little bit about, what John can do and who he can work with, and a little bit about, how we can involve more people either in being a mentor or being mentored?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, especially great because it's about kernel. And what can I say? Currently, I see at least one opportunity to work on kernel. Yes, this is our Raspberry Pi kernel, which has some patches backported, and we are really looking for guys who will maintain it, who will help with testing, with applying those patches and so on. So this is at least one opportunity to work on. And if you want to, there is a special channel in our chat. Yes, it's called Alt-Arch. You will find Andrew, you will find Pablo, and other cool guys who can help you to dive into the topic. Later, we are going to announce a few more related projects, but right now I'm not ready, to talk about this because they are not ready yet and we don't have any documentation and so on. But stay tuned and we will have more things related to kernel to work on.
Awesome.
Jesse,
Jesse,
what
you've
question
been-
do you want to answer?
What question do I want to answer?
Yeah.
I guess a good question would be is, what a pretty generic one is what I'm most personally excited for in terms of what AlmaLinux is working on right now for, I would say not only the hosting community, but just the Linux community in general. That's been lacking is going to be what Jack was talking about in terms of the Elevate project. I can't emphasize how huge having something like that available is, because migrating major operating systems is no easy task, especially for production systems. So I think the work and effort that's been put there is monumental, especially because I've actually seen it working and it's making great progress in comparison to other projects that have been kicked off in the past by other organizations to attempt doing this. So I wanted to really push and emphasize how valuable that resource is going to be for the community moving forward.
Awesome. And yeah, I mean, there are a lot of hands behind that, making that possible. I think, first and foremost, we definitely have to thank Red Hat for, the initial work on Leap. And, we're glad to work with the Leap team there to kind of expand that and make that suitable for everyone and, apply lots of other use cases to it. And I think that, with everyone's continued contribution there, I think this is going to be an awesome tool. And it's really something that's been missing from specifically our Linux community for the longest time. Ubuntu and Debian certainly have capabilities to do that. And it's something that, we've the EL family has not had until now. So it's great to see. John Wyatt, another question. Who can I reach out to keep in touch? I would say any of us. I think most of our contact information is on the wiki. If not, we'll make sure that it is. You can reach out to me, Jack at almalinux.org. You can reach out. We have a general email that goes to hello@almalinux.org.
I think the chat Mattermost is probably a good place because all of us are on there. So the conversations happen all the time. Yeah, Mattermost, chat.almalinux.org. Of course, that's bridge to IRC. If you're on IRC, we're on Libera chat on #AlmaLinux. So that's great. If you want to reach out to us on Twitter, on Reddit, I mean, we're pretty responsive. So there's someone usually always monitoring what's going on all the different channels. So if you want to reach out, you can do that. If it's something you'd rather email about, just send it to hello@almalinux.org and one of us will get back to you. Anyone else? Let's give another few seconds to see if anyone else has any more questions.
I just tweeted out the link, so there's going to be some disruptive influences by soon, I'm sure.
Cool. Benny, do you want to talk to us a little bit about some stuff that you kind of have, planned on the agenda?
Sure.
That you'd like to. I know that over the last few days, we've been chatting a little bit about that. So let's make some of that public, maybe.
Yes. So one of the big things I really want to hold, one of the things that I think is going to be important to rebuild or build community trust in AlmaLinux and specifically in the foundation is going to be making sure that we are as transparent as possible. So I've got a bunch of ideas around how that happens. One of the first things is to make sure that the board meeting agendas are shared publicly, not just our minutes for the meetings that happen afterward. So like that kind of stuff. I want to make a calendar that goes on the website so that you can see when the meetings are happening and how they're happening and who's involved. I want to add more language around what we're looking for in terms of membership and requirements and like that kind of stuff to the wiki to make sure that it's super clear there. I want to, what else? So one of the things that's important to me, I think I told this story at All Things Open this week, was to make sure that this thing that happened to me never happens. And that is when I joined the web hosting industry in 2005, I think it was, 2003, whenever it was. When I joined, I was very new to Linux, very new to open source, and was super excited about the idea that anybody could participate and you could help out and you could engage wherever you could and wherever you wanted to. And I immediately was like, well, I can do this, and went to help out with some documentation and asked a question and got kind of like put off, and then had a one-on-one conversation with some of the people, well, like many-to-one conversation with some of the people that were active in that community, and was told with many more words and in much more flowery language that I was a girl and I didn't really know anything, so I probably didn't really belong there. And I am super excited to see AlmaLinux never become that. We are already an incredibly inclusive and welcoming community, and I want us to be even more verbose about it. It's important that folks know that even if you've encountered a really negative or really off-putting group of people in the Linux ecosystem, this isn't going to be that, and we're excited to have everybody. So that's going to be my driving force, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely a lot of toxicity out there, and I think we're all trying to do our best to kind of, make sure that doesn't permeate into here, and to create a space where, everyone feels welcome, and everyone feels engaged, and everyone feels like they're able to contribute without judgment. Just a couple of days ago, someone sent us their first pull request to an open source project ever. It was their first open source contribution. And, after we got the pull request, we replied back, thanks. And, the person replied back, oh, I was so nervous. This was my first time contributing anything. I didn't know how this would go. And I mean, it's just, personally, I was just, amazed and humbled by that, you decided to make us the place that you wanted to make your first contribution. And I'm glad that, we created a space where everyone feels that way, and everyone feels like they can participate. Everyone feels like they can collaborate. Everyone feels like they can come in and get mentorship and get advice and get help. I think that's, something that we all need to make sure that we're doing more of, not just in our technical day-to-day work, but, in life. So thank you, Benny, for making sure that that's part of the agenda.
Yeah. It looks like Rory has a question.
It looks like Rory has a question.
Yeah.
Yes. Rory asked, will Elevate eventually, you didn't capitalize the L, Rory. You got to capitalize the L. Will Elevate eventually become a standalone project due to all the other community's interest in it? This is a really amazing tool. Igor, I don't know if you want to talk about that. I mean, I certainly, the core tool is already on GitHub, which is Leap. So I assume that many people will be using, will be contributing there directly. Like we want contributions to go there in terms of the tool itself, because it's a tool that's there. It's something that's upstream, and we want to make sure it stays upstream. Like we're not looking to fork it. We're not looking to create a separate spin-off or whatever it is. And, we're certainly committed to working with Peter and the rest of the people at Red Hat who are running that project. So there's that. As far as the package evolution service, I think it kind of is its own standalone project. It's really open to everybody. So, I mean, if we see that I see that we lost Benny, but if we see that there's a tremendous interest in spinning it off into some direction, with its own, I don't know, with its own governance or with its own guidance. I mean, I'm not against doing that. I think that's fine. Let's see how things go. I mean, it's really just starting. And Rory said he was scared to capitalize the L because Benny writes her name with a lowercase b. So yes, we
Perfect.
Can I add to this? I know,
Yeah.
I want to just give you my vision of what I thought AlmaLinux will be. And given that I'm not on the board, it will not be for me to decide where it will be. But my vision was that, first of all, it is for community to decide. Second of all, I don't want AlmaLinux to be CentOS. I don't want AlmaLinux to be a rebuild of Red Hat. I think it was a missed opportunity for CentOS to just do the rebuild. I think Red Hat is great. It's a giant who creates absolutely amazing Linux distribution. And we're standing on shoulders of that giant, but we should look forward. We should look in all directions. We should make sure that we elevate not just the version of CentOS, but we elevate the whole enterprise Linux ecosystem, or basically make this ecosystem more welcoming to everyone. Fill the niches where today it's not available, it's not meant for, because we can. There is so much more to do than just rebuilding the operating system. So I do see AlmaLinux as an amazing opportunity to go where Red Hat didn't go, where Red Hat doesn't want to go. And this Elevate and Package Evolution service is just one of the examples. Raspberry Pi is another example. ZFS, that might be a third example. But I want AlmaLinux to be a community where there is tons and tons of these examples. And as community brings in new needs, they will be answered by AlmaLinux community.
Thanks. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank Igor, because Igor really, had the vision and really had the people don't know, but Igor put a lot of work into this. Creating a nonprofit and creating a foundation is a lot more work than I think any of us ever thought it would be. We've had those late nights and those early mornings, and really, Igor, thank you so much. And I think it takes a lot of courage to step down like that and make room for other people. And I think that, you gave your word at the beginning, and it's just wonderful to see that you stuck to it. Like you said, I also hope that we can grow this into a space where a lot of good can be done for the EL family of distributions. All right. I see that Simon went and grabbed a beer. So Simon's in the UK. So it's about that time right now.
My guilty confession is it's actually fizzy water. I have the very lovely cucumber, mint, and lime flavor here.
And I hope you enjoy, Simon.
Thank you.
So a bunch of people are saying thanks. More than anything, I think we all owe our big thanks to the community, which things would not be where they are today without the community. We have some amazing community members working on our cloud images. They're doing absolutely awesome work. And again, all this is really being done coordinated via Mattermost. We have our amazing secret weapon, Mr. Bala Rahman. I want to give a shout out to him. He's been doing lots of container stuff And he's really, I mean, he's a machine. I don't know what other way to put it. He's just like, whenever we think we're done with one thing, he comes up with something else that he's going to do, and he just does it and comes back with it. So thank you so much. Thank you to Matisse for the site. It's really been awesome. Thank you, Eugene and Andrew and Sonia and all the other people that are working on the technical stuff and the docs and the build system, which we didn't really get into the build system too much. But Eugene, do you want to maybe just say a few words about that? We have like 5 minutes left, and I think a lot of people are kind of curious about that. So it might be a good time to talk about it.
Well, this is a long journey actually, and I'm sad to say we delayed it a bit. There are many factors for this. I mean, this COVID epidemic, and we had some, hard times in the company, and we also have to do some urgent stuff. So basically, where we are right now, we are mostly done with our Git repositories made public. Yes, we set it up git.almalinux.org. We mostly set it up the synchronization pipeline to get CentOS, pull it from CentOS repos, from our internal repos to be synchronized there. We are also mostly done with, all that integration stuff to switch from our internal Gerrit to this public Git instance. And we are trying to, to polish this project a bit to make it more secure, let's say. Make it more secure and remove some stuff that is disputable if we talk about AlmaLinux, because internally we use the system for many projects and some of them are not even RPM based. So we want to release, something clean, something maintainable, something that community can join, yes, can start using with us, can develop with us. So the goal is to complete it in this quarter, yes, and start, rebuilding everything, build new major versions and other stuff in this build system, and make, of course, it should be made public, yes, so everyone can take a look, verify how it's going, and of course we are looking, to establish some community development there, yes. Ideally, I'd like to see community participating in future development, yes, asking for features, implementing them with us, and let's see how it's going.
Thanks. And we're also working on some cool stuff like reproducible, verifiable builds. I think we'll be putting out some news about that very soon. Otherwise, if there are no other questions or comments, I think that I'm scrolling all the relevant resources down at the bottom. So, of course, we have our website, almalinux.org. We have chat.almalinux.org. We have our forums.almalinux.org. And Reddit, if anyone wants to hit us up there, our subreddit is just /r/almalinux. If anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, we're all usually on the Mattermost. We're always available. If not, you can email hello@almalinux.org. You can email myself, jack@almalinux.org, benny@almalinux.org. Any one of the board members is really there. And I think that's really it for me. I'll let everyone else sign off if they want to. And then, another question came in. Let's see. Perhaps an unpopular question. I'm sure we do and will continue to have some pushback from certain corners of the greater community. Is there a plan to mitigate and handle that? I think. Go ahead.
Do you mind if I take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think the answer is kind of in the question, right? There will be pushback, and like friction is never a bad thing. We get better when there's friction. We do better when there's friction. Like any kind of there's a reason utopian societies always end up with like crazy dirty underbellies, because it's not, without that friction we won't get better and we won't do good. The reality is that mitigating that isn't something that we need to do. Reacting to it is how determining how we react to it is the thing. And I think Jack has already done an amazing job of reacting appropriately to trolls and that kind of stuff. The reality is we're going to have interactions that aren't always flowers and sunshine, but we know when we're doing that, we're aiming in a direction that causes a conversation, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think to add to that too, I think we just like do what we got to do. You know, it's just about doing what we know we need to do, what we want to do, what we say we're gonna do, and just sticking to it. You know, I think there's a lot of work to do. There's still a lot more that we want to do, certainly, and you know that's all coming. And so I think we just gotta know like what our target is and just stay the course. And that's really the best way. Like, you know, people are always going to say something negative. I mean, even if you're doing something, you know, ultimately positive, there are always going to be people that say something. You know, I think I'm glad to get feedback from people and incorporate that into what we're doing. But it just, you know, coming in day after day and just constantly like doing what we need to do. I think that's the best way that we, you know, I don't know if it's about mitigation. It's just about us being the best us that we can be, being the best distro, being the best community that we can be. And I think that's the way I look at that.
Yeah. So every now and then it is necessary to hold back. So I'll tell you something from my other world. So I own a share in a restaurant, and my chef is deeply hurt every time we get a less than 5-star review. And his first reaction is to get up there on TripAdvisor and just tear the leg off the person who gave him the 4 stars and said that his sauce was not salty enough. And I have to hold him back, which is quite hard because he's quite big, and explain to him that the best solution is to learn from the criticism. So I think we all want to hear criticism. I mean, not just criticism. It's nice to hear nice things sometimes as well. But we all want to hear criticism because we want to be continuously improving. And if we're not hearing criticism, we've obviously scared people. So we don't want to do that. But on the other hand, when we get that negative input, the best thing to do is to simply leave it alone, because when we respond to it, the Barbara Streisand effect appears that Mike Masnick so memorably named many years ago, where the fact you've criticized it leads it to be seen by more people. And the best thing we can do is to be excellent to each other and make an excellent piece of code and let it talk for us and listen quietly to criticism and let the critics be frustrated at the lack of response that they're able to provoke in us. Because honestly, the best revenge is seeing them frustrated.
I mean, the reality is, if we're getting any kind of frustrated feedback, right, then there's going to be some truth to it. And we can take the feedback that we're getting, remove the emotion, and react to the actual feedback, right? Now, this is obviously excluding trolls. Trolls are going to troll.
Yeah.
That's what they do. It's fine.
Yeah.
They control, and those are the people that we're not going to react to.
Yep.
But if there's actual feedback like mixed in with the frustration, then that's the stuff that we need to react to. We need.
Honestly, I never say that to my chef. I never tell him, actually, Isaac, your sauce didn't have enough salt in it, because he gets very upset.
Well,
You know he's watching right now.
yeah, of
I hope
course.
so.
Hi, Isaac in Bristol.
Isaac, your sauce needs more salt.
I have to
All
run. I guess Jesse ran out as well.
Yeah, I think
Awesome.
we all had.
So thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot,
Yeah,
everyone.
absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, community. And thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.